Well, it is now time for weather with Nebraska Extension Ag climatologist and Market Journal Chief Meteorologist Al Dutcher. Well, Al, we had some good weather for the most part over the long holiday weekend, but things have been heating up quickly as they tend to do here in the month of July. How are things looking as we turn to the week ahead?
Well, Bryce, we did see that warm up during this week, and of course we've seen a little bit of fireworks outside of the 4th of July with the thunderstorm activity that rolled across the state. We were catching in that monsoonal flow riding over top of the ridge that's centered over the southern plains. And of course we see scattered showers and thunderstorm activity. Not as broad-based as what the models were originally forecasting, but those areas that did get into some of the more active weather received some pretty substantial precipitation amounts, particularly that area of south central and southeast Nebraska along the Kansas border. Multiple reports of several days of precipitation, anywhere in the 2 to 5 inch range, and then we had pockets scattered throughout the remainder of the state. At the same token, some areas of the southwestern panhandle, parts of southwest Nebraska, small pockets of east central Nebraska, the northern sandhills, and parts of northeast Nebraska were fortunate if they received even a 1/4 inch during this event. So it kind of gives you a broad-based idea of how scattered the precipitation was. As we go forward in time, the heat looks like it's going to return, and unfortunately precipitation chances themselves kind of drop off dramatically during this week. So let's take a look at the upper air forecast. First thing I'll draw your attention to, the ridge is building back in for this weekend, so the return of the warm and sticky weather looks to be on this way. We should see widespread upper 90s to low 100s in the southwest, and eastern Nebraska probably going to be dipping around into the 90 to 95 degree range. Low pressure moving across southern South Dakota. We'll keep most of the moisture up in North Dakota, maybe an isolated thunderstorm in the panhandle, and then as we go into tomorrow, this ridge starts to be pushed southward as a trough goes across the northern plains. At this point in time, it doesn't look like a lot of moisture with us. We'll see the low pressure moving across northeastern South Dakota. Good precipitation in this region, but nothing in the way in the central plains. And our temperatures will start to cool in the northeast into the upper 80s, and we'll still probably be around 100 in the south. And on Monday, of course, as jet stream starts to dip, we'll start to see high pressure building in. So we will see a cooling trend for a couple days. Still a chance for isolated showers. Most locations of the state should be somewhere in the 80s to around the lower 90s. And then as we get into Tuesday, we start to see that ridge reforming to the west. So we're going to see much warmer temperature in western Nebraska, probably pushing up toward the 90 to 95 degree range. In eastern Nebraska, we'll still be close enough to that trough, so we may actually still stay in the upper 80s. Just a slight chance of precipitation with a front that will be to the south of us. And then on Wednesday, this high pressure ridge starts to really expand toward the central plains. And we should see upper 90s across the western part of the state, and we'll be probably looking at the low 90s to mid 90s across the eastern part of the state with very humid conditions as we start to see a little bit of monsoonal moisture moving up the front range of the Rockies. On Thursday, the ridge builds even farther up into the Dakotas. We do see low pressure at the surface trying to develop in eastern Montana, but in terms of precipitation, just nothing in the way of any moisture, as all of it's going to be focused along the Gulf Coast region. And by the time we get to Friday, this high pressure ridge extends all the way up toward the western Great Lakes. Before that trough comes in next weekend, we'll be looking at widespread upper 90s to low 100s across much of the Central Plains region, and it'll be fairly humid, not in the way much in the way of monsoonal moisture moving up into the region. Looking a little bit farther out into the future, that trough is going to be staying into place to somewhat over the Ohio River Valley and the eastern Great Lakes. So that's going to allow that ridge to keep the warmer temperatures up into the western United States, including Nebraska. And in terms of precipitation, we'll see below normal across the Great Lakes. And as we go to the southwest, we start to notice a monsoon moisture starting to flow northward. And the latest signals show around the 22nd, we'll start to see another trough tapping that moisture and moving into the central plains.